So what do you think is the biggest difference of hiring an independent contractor in hiring an agency?
Well, the perks that I see with it and that I often will talk to clients about is the ability to have really constant coverage. I mean, if I'm hiring an independent contractor and they go on vacation for a week, then they go on vacation for a week. And the work that I would have had them do either falls back on my plate or potentially just doesn't get done that week. Whereas if I have an agency that I am working with, and then I'm able to still have things covered, they're able to kind of cross-train each other and still know that things are being done in your business, even if it's not specifically the exact same person doing it all the time.
Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Christy Yoder, host of the Master Delegator podcast. The Master Delegator podcast is for busy and overwhelmed entrepreneurs who want to learn how to become effective in the area of delegation and learn how to hire great virtual assistants to help them scale their business and have more time and freedom. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing and don't forget to click the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. Alright, let's get started. Hey, welcome to the Master Delegator podcast. Today, I am going to be talking about, well, not me. We are going to be talking about a very important topic that I think most business owners need to know. So today, Ann Hill from Hilltop Virtual Solutions is joining me today to talk about the topic, how do I know that the person I'm hiring is the right fit for my business? But before we dive right in, I want to introduce my guest first for today's episode. So Anne has had the desire to help others for as long as she can remember. Even as a child, Anne was rising to the rank of captain in whatever sport she played. She spent over 15 years in the physical therapy field, where she thrived at managing the operations side of the business, along with supporting multiple other rehabilitation managers in the area. She quickly realized how much of a correlation there was between the health of a person and health of a business. So Anne went on to create Hilltop Virtual Solutions, an agency dedicated to fine-tuning and streamlining the way companies run. As she became more familiar with the online space and noticed business owners needed guidance and a sounding board for their entrepreneurial vision, she received her Director of Operations certificate and discovered the perfect way to match her expertise with the services her clients need. Hilltop Virtual Solutions covers it all, from hiring and training new employees to establishing a solid and long-lasting foundation. Outside of her business, Anne enjoys spending time with her two boys and is an avid sports fan. I am so excited to be discussing about the topic today, just like what I have mentioned earlier. And so I want to just dive right in. So Anne, welcome to the Master Delegators podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, so before we started, recording this podcast, I was just mentioning to you that this is a special topic that I am passionate about.
Yeah.
Maybe not the most, but one of my favorite topics to talk about. So, and how do we know that the person we're hiring is the right fit for our business, regardless if it's, physical or virtual?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that can contribute to really making sure that you're hiring the right person and having the right fit in your business. And what I like to start with when I'm working with clients and really diving into making sure that they're bringing on the right team members has to do with, in all honesty, looking at themselves a bit. And it has to do with them seeing what are their business values and what is the vision that they see for their business. I think those two key elements are the great place to start, because if the business owner doesn't know the direction they're going themselves, then it's very hard to bring someone else on as a team member and expect them to be able to help you reach your goals. And then on the other side of it with the values, there's a lot that can be taught to people skill-wise. They may not have all of the skills. They may not check every single box off skill-wise, but there's a lot that can be taught skill-wise. It's very hard to change the core of who somebody is, though. It's hard to, if you've ever met someone and you just haven't clicked. There's probably a values misalignment there. There's probably a reason that the two of you just don't quite click. And it's not to say that there's a right or wrong. It's just to say everybody is different. And which is why the luxury of having, the businesses that we do is that we are able to look for that right fit and that person that is going to complement who we are, what we do, what we stand for, what our business stands for. So really diving into yourself as a business owner and seeing what are my values and how do I make sure that I have a values alignment with the type of people in my business. And like I say, a lot of times as business owners, as small business owners, at least, our values, our personal values tend to be very similar to what the values are as the business also. So that's where it's a lot of times looking at the business owner themselves. If they do already have a little bit of a team that they have built, then you can talk to your team also and make sure that everybody is of the same thought process and everybody's of the same understanding of what those values are and how you want your business to be seen.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you started off talking about direction and values. I'm telling you, a lot of business owners out there, they started a business, but they don't know where they want to go, which is kind of crazy because me as a business owner, maybe it actually depends on your personality as well as a person. So because me, I'm a planner, I organize. And so since I am a planner, I want to make sure that when I do something, I know where I'm going from there. But there's a lot of business owners who are not, structured. They're not planners. They're not organized, but they are creative. But sometimes creativity, like too much creativity, can kill you if you don't know where you are going. And so I think what you said there, you need to know where you're going. You need to have a direction in your business and as well as values, because if you want to go from point A to point D, you need to know what are the values that you're taking in order to go from point A to point D, and how are you going to get there. And so I love that. I love that you mentioned about values and direction. So maybe let's just focus about hiring someone, online, like virtual, kind of like a virtual assistant, virtual support.
Yeah.
So if somebody would need someone to help them with, let's just say, administrative tasks, what should be the very first thing that a business owner must do?
So once they know, first of all, that they know they need help. And this is where I'm sure you run into the same thing where people come to you and they're like, I know I need help, but I have no idea what I need help with. I just know I'm overwhelmed and I need help. And once they have narrowed down, okay, this is kind of what my business is. This is where we're going. This is where we're trying to go. Then it's a matter of really looking at what I call, especially if it's a solopreneur, like a time study. See how you're spending your time right now and start looking at some of those, what may be classified as like your lower level tasks. What are some things that I can start to hand off and delegate to others to help me? And that will free up my time a little bit. And it also will then help to bring in that added support in the business. And so I do think it's helpful that when people do have the, structure and they have operating procedures and that sort of stuff in place, but I don't think that it has to always be done right away. And I think that's where, before you hire someone, I should say, because I think that's where a lot of times people will get stuck, is they'll be like, I don't have time to put my operating procedures together, but I don't want to bring somebody in that doesn't know what's going on. And I don't have time to train them. So they just get stuck in this hamster wheel of like, I don't know where else to go with this. I don't know what to do. So if you're able to look at where they're spending their time, they're able to figure out what some of those potentially lower level tasks are that they could potentially start to hand off that don't need as much of the decision-making factor in the business, then they can start to hand those things off. And when they bring that team member on, when they find that right fit and they bring the team member on, they can collaboratively make those operating procedures. And when they're training that person, they can be starting to create some of those operating procedures and then having the other person help with some of the fine tuning of those operating procedures, instead of feeling like it all has to be done before you bring someone on. But you need to have that assessment of where your time is going, so you can figure out what it is that needs to be delegated and what it is that you're going to have someone else start to help you with in your business.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Time is the most valuable thing that we have right now, because it's something that we cannot have back.
Right.
If you take a nap for 15 minutes a day, even just for 3 minutes, those are the hours, the minutes that you can never have back. You can never turn back time. So I agree with you that you need to sit down and assess where you are spending your time on. If you are spending your time on mostly in social media, then maybe you can hire somebody to help you with social media. And then just like what Anne mentioned, you don't have to have a structure at first, but as you're doing things, start documenting, start writing. Okay, how do I post in my social media? Step 1, find a photo that you can use. Step 2, create a caption, something like that, like step by step. It doesn't have to be like very formal, those SOPs back in the corporate world.
Right.
I was a part of a corporate world for almost 5 years, and then their SOPs are like, I don't really understand this. Like, these are all numbers. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be in a proper document. If you want, you can just record like a walkthrough guide via Loom, and that's it. Yeah.
And I frequently will recommend that to people when I'm talking with them, that when they're at that very beginning stage of I want to hire somebody soon, or I know this is going to be in my near future, I'll tell them, start recording things. Start as you are physically doing it, as you are, working through your social media content calendar, as you're planning it out. Start recording it and talk to yourself basically as you're recording it, and explain what it is that you're doing. When you're doing your invoicing, record it and record the steps and say what it is and why you're doing what you're doing with it. So that they have just this bank of information that can be utilized if and when they're ready to bring someone on and hand that off to someone else.
Exactly. That's good. And so, okay, once I know what I need to delegate to somebody else, now where do I find that person? Like, do I post on Facebook, Instagram? Do I tell my family and friends?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen everybody do all that you've mentioned there. But what I definitely recommend is having a clear job description of what your expectations are that you want this person to be doing. And then also have a way for them to, whether that's, sending a resume, whether that's filling out a little application that you put to, like a Google form that you put together as an application, but have them fill out an application so you can start going through a process. If you do choose to post in, like a Facebook group or something like that, I used to see a ton of posts, and I don't as much anymore. I think people have started to get a little bit of structure around it, but where they would just say, I need a VA. And then you would have like 300 responses on there. Well, first of all, there's a lot of different types of virtual support that's out there. Do you need somebody that has more of a management support? Do you need somebody that has more of a digital marketing support? Do you need somebody that has more of an administrative, whether that's executive assistant or something like that? But there's a lot of different layers that can be out there. So really defining who you're looking for and what you expect them to do is really going to be helpful in that hiring process.
Yeah, that is so true. And sometimes when we receive like so many applications from one job post, like for instance, if we post today, after 2 hours, we're gonna receive maybe like more than 50 applications already.
Yeah.
So we sift through those applications because we want to make sure that we go through each application, because the fact that those applicants sent their application, that means that they need the job, so bad, because they took the time to craft their resume or CV and send it to us. And so I just want to make sure that each resume or CV gets the attention that it deserves. But if a resume doesn't stand out, then we'll just email that applicant and say that, hey, we don't think you're the right fit. So if you receive like 300 applications from posting online, which is not really rare. You might receive 300 applications. I think my advice is, if you have the time, check all those applications, and then filter it out. You don't have to like interview everyone, or maybe you can check first 10 applications or first 20, and then just email the rest and say that, hey, we already found somebody. And I think it's really important that even on their CV or resume, they stand out.
Yeah, definitely. And exactly what you had said there, where you don't have to interview every single applicant. You're going to start to go through those applicants and figure out who's the person that looks like they have more of the skill set, that looks like their values align, that looks like they are more of the type of person that you're looking to hire in your business. And then, maybe have 10 or so that you interview, and then narrow that down even more than that as you can. I see sometimes where people depending on what the job is that's needed, I see sometimes where people will kind of do some trial runs. We're gonna have you do this project for us, and we're gonna pay you for this project. And if things go well, then maybe we'll continue working with you, or we're gonna have you do this 14-day trial or this 30-day trial. And then if things are going well and we're connecting, then we'll continue working. And I think that's completely fine to do that. It's okay to test drive a little bit of who it is that you're looking to bring on, especially if it's not coming from a referral. If it's coming from a referral from someone that you already know or you've worked with in the past, then you may not necessarily feel the need for that as much. But even if it is coming from a referral, it's still okay to do a little bit of a test run too. So
yeah, that's true. I agree, because you don't really know if somebody is the right fit for you until you test them out, right?
Well, and I do think also giving the person that you're hiring the benefit of the doubt with regard to what your expectations are. I'm not going to know if I have the right fit for my business if I haven't clearly delineated what I expect of them in 30 days. So If I haven't even told them what I need them to be doing and where I expect us to be as a business and together working with them, if I don't tell them where I expect us to be at and what goals I expect to be reaching by that 30-day mark, then there's a pretty good chance I'm not going to know if they have met their goals or not. I'm not going to know if we're moving in the right direction or not as a business owner, but also as the potential team member coming on. They like to know, am I actually beneficial for you? Is what I'm doing valuable or not?
Yeah.
We all like to go to work doing what we enjoy doing and know that our opinion is valued and that we are seen as somebody that is benefiting the business that we're working for, or at least everybody I know. We want to enjoy what we're doing and we want to be valued. If we haven't, as a business owner, told our team what we expect of them, then that's kind of hard to just expect them to figure that out on their own.
Exactly. And yeah, to be honest, there's a lot of business owners out there that are like that. Like, they don't communicate, they don't give feedback, and the first 30 days of working with somebody new, those are the days that are very crucial for you to communicate to your new hire and give them feedback. Like, for instance, if you want someone to design a post or a graphic for your social media account, sometimes that a new VA or your new hire won't be able to get it the first time, because designs are very subjective.
Yeah.
What is good to you might not be good for me, because I like pink. Not really. I just said I like pink. I mean, like, for instance, I like pink, but maybe you like blue and then I use pink, So those are the kind of feedback that a business owner should give to the new hire. And communication, feedback, and meeting regularly, I think those are important, very important when you hire a VA or a person that will help you with your business. So now, for instance, you have already checked the resumes and you have 5 people that you want to interview. So what are the things that a business owner should look for during an interview, and what do you think are the red flags? Like, if you see this one red flag, this is non-negotiable, don't even finish the interview.
Well, I think there's something to be said about how someone communicates. I personally do any of my interviews, I do them via Zoom, because I like to have that quote unquote face-to-face view of someone else. How are they presenting themselves? Are they presenting themselves in a way that matches what your brand and your values are for your business? Are they communicating with you? Are they a part of the conversation? Are they distracted the whole time? Are you getting the sort of responses when you're asking about potentially skill sets? Are you getting the sort of responses that you want them to know going into the job or not? And then also, do they come across as somebody that you think is trainable? I think there is something to be said about just your gut response or your gut instinct to that first, conversation and that first interaction with someone.
Yeah. Sometimes even just seeing the face of the person you're going to interview, sometimes you already know, right? Because you have that instinct that, oh, maybe this is not the right person for me. Even with the background of their Zoom, sometimes you can tell a person's personality. Just like when you join this Zoom meeting, like the very first thing that I notice is your background, because it's so lively, it's very colorful. So it kind of, in a way, it's a sign that you also have that kind of personality, like lively and colorful. So yeah, I think those are some of the things that you can kind of observe when you're interviewing somebody, but not to a point where you become judgmental,
Right. Yeah. I mean, you obviously, as a business owner, you want to be professional, you want to be fair and equitable with people. But you also do want to trust your instincts. And there are red flags of somebody that is, constantly, if you need it, and it also, I guess, depends on what it is that you need them to do. If you need them to be client facing at some point where they're going to start having interactions and conversations with your clients, then you're going to want to make sure they're in a place where it's quiet, where they can have those conversations, where they're uninterrupted. You're going to want to make sure that they come across professionally, or at least at the professional level that you want them to be. Like if you're a trainer and you want them to be doing exercises, then they probably aren't going to be in a suit and tie, but so it's going to match what it is that you're doing in your business. But also, are they the type that you can understand what they're saying? Do you feel like they would be able to communicate in a way that matches the way you would communicate with your clients? Or do you feel like you're going to have constant complaints from clients of issues or somebody not responding on time or those sort of things? You can get some of that. You can get some of that pretty quickly when you're talking with people for 15 minutes, for 30 minutes. You can still get some of that just initial response and gauge how they're going to communicate with you long term and how they're going to be in your business. If they're timely, showing up on time, even some of those little things like that, just show their level of dedication to having a job and the work that they do.
Exactly. And also, since we're talking about virtual, you have to make sure that they also have like a decent internet connection, and you can tell that. You will be able to notice that just by talking to that person. Because how long does an interview usually take? 30 minutes?
Typically, 30 minutes to an hour, depending on if it's a first round or if potentially you're having a couple rounds of interviews.
Yeah, so within 30 minutes, I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to tell if that person has a decent internet connection. And you also might want to ask if that person has their own laptop and they're not just borrowing their friends or their mother's laptop, because those are the most important thing that will help them, work together with you, because without those things, they won't be able to keep the job or do the job that you want them to do. So let's talk about values. How do we know that that person we're hiring or we're interviewing shares the same values? Like, what are the questions that we need to ask?
I will look sometimes at just, situational type questions. So I'll ask them, tell me about a time when you had a conflict with a colleague or a conflict with a family member, or, if they've never, depending on if they've worked before or not, or what their background is. But some of those situational type questions of just finding out how do you respond to this, and what would you do if you had a conflict with your boss? like, what would you do? And more of just, how do you like to communicate, and those sort of things that are a little more open-ended, but situational type questions that you can ask them. Will tell you a little bit about just how they are. And then, whether it's good or bad, social media is very accessible. And it's not unlike people to even, major corporations to, scope out Facebook pages and scope out different social media platforms to see how people are when they're not at their day job, and see what they are doing and how, what sort of posts they put out there and that sort of stuff. Whether it's good or bad, social media is around for showing us what we all did, 10, 20, 30 years ago. So
yeah, that's true.
So
yeah. So one of the things that I really value the most in my business is teamwork. And so I want my new hire or new team member to be, a team player. And so one of the things that I ask, so this is just an example of something that for a business owner to know if that person shares the same values as you, like for me, like again, like being a team player is very important to me. So I would ask the applicant if he loves working with a team, or does he love working alone. So if he mentions, I really like working alone, so that to me is already a red flag. But of course, I will dig deeper. I will ask, like, why do you like working alone? And so from there, that would help me find out if that person is the right fit for me or not. And how about compensation? Like, what do you think about that? What if there is somebody that you think is right fit for you, but you can't afford that person?
Well, obviously, if you can't afford somebody, then you need to be working within what your financial boundaries are. But I also think that business owners should go into an interview knowing what your range is. And I do find that people will go into some of the conversations without really knowing how much they can afford. And especially with contractors, they'll go into it and ask a little bit more of, well, what are your rates? Well, it doesn't really matter what their rates are. It matters what you can afford. So,
yeah. Which is, I know we're not for everyone, and
right.
I know that we should pay somebody according to the skills and the value that they can bring on the table. But sometimes as a business owner, you also gotta be careful how you spend your business money. So I think knowing what you can afford and what you cannot, that is very important. And be also honest to your applicant. Like, if that applicant is you think the right fit for your business, but you can't afford that person, maybe you can discuss with that person, hey, what do you think about this? After 3 months, I will raise your whatever, if it's an hourly salary or monthly salary, I will give you a raise, and then we'll go from there, And I think being just honest and transparent will get you to where you want to be.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. Having those open discussions with people are critical when you're bringing on team members. And I would also include with that if you do truly feel like you have the right fit with this person, you may look at maybe a smaller package of what they're doing for you, until you potentially are able to afford a little bit more. But have those conversations of either this is the max that I can offer, or is there a way that we can work together in this budget and see if there's something that they can either adjust or tweak or put more potentially on your plate versus you delegating it out to them, that still allows you to work with that person. But I also would emphasize that if they just aren't financially in a place that you can afford, then that's okay. Then they just may not be the right fit for that time. And they might be somebody at a later date that you are going to keep in mind when you're ready to hire again. But don't necessarily, as a business owner, don't put yourself in a position that you can't afford.
That's true. Yeah.
To bring on team members. So
yeah. And so I want to talk about how about hiring agencies? Because we both have agencies.
I think it's great to hire agencies.
Yeah, I know. Go and hire us. Just kidding. So what do you think is the biggest difference of hiring an independent contractor in hiring an agency?
Well, the perks that I see with it and that I often will talk to clients about is the ability to have really constant coverage. I mean, if I'm hiring an independent contractor and they go on vacation for a week, then they go on vacation for a week. And the work that I would have had them do either falls back on my plate or potentially just doesn't get done that week. Whereas if I have an agency that I am working with, and then I'm able to still have things covered, they're able to kind of cross-train each other and still know that things are being done in your business, even if it's not specifically the exact same person doing it all the time. I do think that it's important in agencies in general that like you have your dedicated person, but then you still have that additional layer of support if and when coverage needs to be put in place.
Yeah, I totally agree. In my agency, we have what we call buddy system. So we pair up one person with another VA just to make sure that, you know, emergencies are inevitable.
Right.
Getting sick is inevitable, and going on vacation is also important. You know, if us business owners want to go on vacation, our VAs want to go on vacation as well. So those are things that we also need to be understanding of, that those things happens. So I think one benefit as well of having an agency is that you are secured. You know, whatever happens, you have a fallback. You know, you have operations manager or team leader support who can help you with your task, and you won't really feel alone because there will be team members from the agency that will be constantly checking up on you, making sure that your VA or your independent contractor from that agency is doing his job timely and accordingly.
Yeah, a lot of times with at least the agencies that I have either worked with or worked in, there is that added layer of essentially project management that happens from that business on top of just what the client is needing the support with also. Because obviously if somebody hires my team and my business to do something for them, not only is that client going to be, you know, monitoring and keeping tabs on things, but also I'm going to be monitoring and keeping tabs on things because I want to make sure that we are doing what we need to be doing and making the client happy and fulfilling on what it is that we said we would do. So they have kind of this added layer there of additional, I guess, like you're saying, just that additional monitoring that happens with the business. So
exactly. I love that. I love agencies. Well, this has been great, and so this is your time to pitch your services. I'll give you that moment. Tell my listeners what you do and what you can do for them.
Yeah, so I work on the back end of the business. I do more of the operations support, so that administrative level when it comes to developing and hiring team members, when it comes to knowing what your metrics are in your business, knowing how to put your operating procedures together, all of those sort of things, is where that's my sweet spot. That's what I love, the things that are behind the scenes in the business, but that really help give you that solid foundation to continue to grow. So as we were discussing, I do have a team that I work with. And then I also do have an upcoming, I guess I have an upcoming program that is going to be doing some work on teaching the business owner some of these solid foundations so that they can take it and run with it in their own business. And then also I have, which I can get you a link to, a team onboarding checklist, so that if you are bringing on a team member, that you have some of the checklists already set up so that you know what to be thinking about, so that you have a great experience for your new team member that you hire on.
Yeah, I would love for you to send me those links. Those are helpful for a business owner. So where can people find you online?
Yeah, on the social media side, I spend most of my time on LinkedIn, and then my website is hilltopvirtualsolutions.com.
Yay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anne.
Thank you very much. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video and you want to listen to the full episode, please type in Master Delegator on Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast channels, or simply click the link in the description box below. Also, please subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you again on the next episode. Bye!